Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
IVM Likes is an IVM production, and if you enjoy the show, check out our personal finance podcast, Paisa Vaisa. If you're like me and have no idea what mutual funds or SIPs are or how to save money like a responsible adult, you need all the advice you can get from Anupam Gupta on Paisa Vaisa. New episodes are out every Monday and Thursday.
Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of IVM Likes. This is me, Abbas, here. I'm hosting this show for the first time.
Producer Abbas.
Yes, producer Abbas.
Oh my God, is that your name?
Yeah, he's been knighted.
We now say the designation before the name.
Yeah,
so
we start with titles.
It's producer Abbas.
Unemployed Mae.
Thanks, yeah, guys.
Unemployed / host of Made in India, Mae Thomas.
Oh, it should
Freelancer
sound...
Mae. I like Freelancer Mae.
Freelancer Mae
Cool.
sounds good.
That sounds cool.
Though it sounds like, a prostitute or something.
Why? What's wrong with freelancing? That's mean.
I was going to say that sounds like something like a comic strip would be based on, like Freelancer Mae.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
like a comic about me, Freelancer Mae.
Yes, and production head
The
Sharanya.
panel will all be just like, hey, can you please pay me?
Yeah.
Please pay me. I sent you the invoice a month ago.
That's so true. That's my life.
I have been totally hijacked in my
Sorry,
first
sorry.
hosting gig, but I would let that go.
This is your first hosting gig?
On IVM Likes, yes.
Yeah,
Hi,
I've
guys.
hosted
I'm
other
in
things,
shock.
including bacteria. Never mind.
You produced this show and you've never
I
hosted
do.
it?
No, I haven't. I'm modest that way. Production head Sharanya is with us on
Hi
this
guys,
episode.
waving.
Alright, so what do we do on this show is we give recommendations and then we talk about some pop culture stuff, which is what we're going to do today. We have recommendations from Mae, who's going to recommend...
Recommendations specifically of stuff we like,
We
hence
like,
the
yes.
name of the show.
Yes.
Clear enough.
IVM Likes. Alright, so let's start with the recommendations. Let's start with Mae. What do you have to recommend
Okay,
this
so
week?
today I'm recommending a book.
All right.
And I was in Kerala for 2 weeks in my hometown, Tiruvalla. And while I was there was some kind of big book mart sale at a bookstore which still exists,
yeah.
called, I think, DK Books or DM Books or DN Books or something like that.
Could be
one of
anything.
this, yeah, but it's a bookstore
Yep.
in Tiruvalla, I think the only one. And I was roaming around, and it's been a really long time since I've gone to a bookstore and just roamed around and flipped through the books. And I always have this thing that I must read the first page. And then I found a book by someone from my childhood. I read, not considerably, but I've read some of his books. Ruskin Bond, and it's his book called Friends in Small Places. And he basically it's a compilation, like a short stories of all like different kinds of people that he's met all across his life, because I think he's a keen observer, and I think the people in his life very much influenced all the stories that he wrote. And I haven't read that much of Ruskin Bond. I've read, I think the first book I read was A Room on the Roof and A Night at Deoli. Those are the two books I remember reading when I was younger. And it's strange because I have a Ruskin Bond story, which is that I got, when I was on Radio 1, I got a lot of PR people used to keep in touch with me a lot, and someone from Penguin, who published Ruskin Bond's books, had got in touch with me to say that he'd released a new book called Maharani. It's like in 2000.
I read that book, yeah.
About 2012 sometime.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is awesome, like Ruskin Bond. And I said, well, I'd love to talk about his book, but I need to interview him. So they were like, we're not sure. He's not traveling. He's in Missouri. Like, it's, they were very much, his connectivity is really low. 10,000 excuses, but I was like, make it happen. And I interviewed Ruskin Bond.
Nice.
And it was amazing. And he's like the really sweet uncle you wish you had.
Every interview he's done, he sounds like really, I don't understand this interview process, but I'll talk to you about myself.
Yeah, and he's so endearing. And you know what? I have been reading a lot of serious books lately. So Ruskin Bond was this really light read. It's so... when you read you always wonder what the point of the story is. But with Ruskin Bond, it's one of those things where it isn't about anything. It's just about people and what they bring to you. And it could be anything. It could be a guy who used to serve him chai
It's
every
less
day.
about the story and more how he writes it and how he's like waving this like You can imagine exactly the setting, which is great.
And it's really random about this guy who used to walk up and down a tunnel, a train tunnel, to make sure that there was nothing there that would be unsafe for a train going through. And that was it. Then a little boy comes and helps him out, and then that was the story. So basically, it's just about this guy, and nothing really happens, except for maybe a tiger in between. But then the tiger gets shooed away, and that's the end of the story. They shoo the tiger away from the tunnel. And just basic life things that happen to normal people. But one of the most beautiful stories in this book, which is where I felt like I really got to know Ruskin Bond, which is actually why I'm recommending this book, besides the fact that it's a brilliant book. And I think that we should just read more Ruskin Bond, is there's a lovely story about where he talks about his dad. And I think I genuinely didn't realize how little I actually knew about his life and how he ended up here, and about his mother and father and his own family. And there's some beautiful stories, and one of the stories in here actually has a letter that his father wrote him, and where you actually see where he's got, the writing style from. And so it's really beautiful. I think one of the stories that I definitely would recommend even from this book would be the story about his dad.
Awesome.
Which is really nice. So yeah, Ruskin Bond, the book is called Friends in Small Places.
Yeah.
Nice.
In 2011, I attended the Jaipur Literature Festival, and I was at the Ruskin Bond talk. And it was in early morning, around 9:30, 10.
Yeah.
So that particular day, the schools had made, it was a weekday, so the schools had made provisions that they'll skip the morning periods, and they'll bring all the kids to attend the class. And I don't think I've ever seen school children be so rapt in attention listening to someone.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And he, coincidentally also narrated a tiger-related story at that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did, and it was really good. And he also signed my book, so yes.
But he's great, and I think, right now we're so busy all the time.
Right.
Don't have time. I barely ever get time to read. But this book is such a light read. It's not stressful at all, and it's one of those ones that I just genuinely recommend for anyone who's just busy in life and wants to read something pretty and sweet and light. Read Ruskin Bond.
So you know how Ruskin Bond stories are always like about nothing?
Yeah.
But the movie that got adapted which is like really murderous. When I watched that the first time, the Saat Khoon Maaf, I was like, this does not sound like Ruskin Bond. Like, was he having an off day? Did somebody else write this? It's like when you read Roald Dahl's adult stories, they are super violent and just like super crooked.
Yeah.
It's always like, what is happening in this person's brain? It's interesting.
But this book is really nice and sweet.
Very sweet.
What's it called again?
It's called Ruskin Bond, Friends in Small Places.
Friends in Small Places. All right, so that was the book recommendation from May.
Yep.
I will go next. I'm recommending a movie. It's a documentary called Wiener. Not what you're thinking. It's about this politician called Anthony Weiner.
First guess.
So Weiner is a film about the politician Anthony Weiner. About in 2011-2012, he was seen as the next big democratic politician to break on the scene, and he had everything going for him. He had some really fiery speeches that were going viral on YouTube. He was doing really well in the polls and everything. He is married, or was married rather, to Huma Abedin, and Huma Abedin is seen as the right hand of Hillary Clinton, and so much so that Hillary Clinton is on record saying, if I had another daughter apart from Chelsea, I'd consider that to be Huma, right? So he had everything going for him. That was until in 2012, he accidentally posted a picture of his wiener, of his crotch on Twitter.
Yeah. He's just named so unfortunately.
I know, exactly, right?
I know.
And it went viral, and he had to resign from the post that he was holding at that point. But in 2013, he ran for the post of mayor of New York City, which was seen as his comeback gig, that this is the point where Anthony Weiner will finally come back. And that's when the documentarians were given access to basically shoot his comeback story of how it's going to be a success story for him to come back. Only glitch was that while he was running for the mayoral position, another set of erotic texts or sexting scandal broke out, and that's when the documentarian totally pounced on this accessibility that he had to Anthony Weiner, where he was like, instead of writing a success story, I now actually have the opportunity to actually see how it goes. And I remember...
That bro is so unlucky, man. So unlucky.
And I remember a Washington DC insider saying that Washington politics is more close to the TV show Veep than it is to House of Cards, which is that politicians are mostly clueless all the time. It's a comedy of errors happening most of the time. And this movie, this documentary documentary is testament to that, because there are some really hilarious moments that happen where Anthony Weiner goes on TV, on a news channel to defend himself, and on the way back he's watching his own clip on the phone and he's like, I shouldn't have said that. And then he's watching the same clip at night on TV and his wife walks in and he's laughing at himself, and his wife just goes, why are you laughing at that? It's not funny. And she walks out. And there's a point in the movie where this woman who he's supposedly involved with, so she's taking advantage and making as much of it as she can. So there's this point where she comes to confront him in front of his office, and Anthony Weiner is somewhere else at an event, and his personal security guard comes and tells him something, which is that she's outside the office. How do we deal with the situation? And the documentary filmmakers kind of corner the security guard, like, what did you tell him? What's happening? And then the security guard looks at him and he's like, pineapple is at the office. And then he goes, shit, pineapple was the code word for her. I shouldn't have told you that. So it's moments like those which are so funny. So the entire movie is like that. It's kind of funny, but it's also kind of gives you a very inside look of how Washington politics actually goes down. The movie covers the 2013-14 election. So that's where it ends, but unfortunately or fortunately, or however you want to put it, one of Anthony Weiner's emails while they were being investigated also led to the Hillary Clinton emails, which brought her downfall in the 2016
he didn't
elections.
win either, right?
He didn't win either, yeah.
I think there's a re-election now. November is the new mayor
I guess, yeah.
Because earlier on, I think they were looking... this is, of course, because I'm only getting pop culture news, is that people were voting for Cynthia Nixon to stand for the mayor of New York.
Okay.
She plays Miranda in Sex and the City.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, do you never learn? Don't make entertainers politicians. I don't think she's actually standing, but that election is now.
Can I say one thing about documentaries, right? Honestly, I know a couple of my friends who are like documentary filmmakers, and honestly, right place, right time.
Yeah.
Genuinely right place, right time, and you never know what you could get.
Honestly though, I feel like Anthony Weiner it was really unlucky, because it's not that big a scandal, People have tweeted far worse stuff and been involved in far worse sexual, I don't know,
scandals
and had got away with it.
That's true.
I think it's just like there was a lot of focus on him at the time, and I think maybe he also took it too. He should not have taken it that seriously.
For a second, I thought he should have taken it that angle.
The photo, yes. Critiquing the pics also. So Weiner is the movie. It's a very funny movie. It's about around an hour and a half long. It's on Netflix, so check it out. That's my recommendation. And finally, closing off the recommendation round is Sharanya. What do you have to recommend? I have
us?
a YouTube channel today.
All right.
I was gonna do my usual TV show, but it's been a tough week, guys. I haven't finished watching anything. I'm just watching 30 Rock again. So I'm recommending a YouTube channel today called Crash Course.
All right.
It's a fairly popular channel. So a couple of years ago, I realized that I have completely forgotten anything I learnt in school. Right? Because I would do this crosswords and I would not remember any names of rivers or, what is the island beyond something. I was like, oh my God, what happened to my geography? I know nothing anymore. So I try to go to Wikipedia and try and read, but it's difficult to study again because I find it really difficult to absorb that kind of information anymore. So I started looking through Reddit to see where can I learn that doesn't feel too heavy and too serious. And that's how I found Crash Course. So it is made by John Green and Hank Green, the brothers.
Oh, okay.
John Green wrote Fault in Our Stars, etc. So Crash Course is a really nice 10 to 15 minute introduction to a subject. And say for example, if they pick world history, there are 40 videos, but they're all 10 minutes each. And they're really, really fun. They're animated almost all the time, except the set is animated and then John Green is explaining, okay, this is what this is, bubbles, and they really take care of that attention span problem, because it is difficult to pay attention to all these names and I can't remember anything, because it literally, every time somebody mentions the name of a mountain range, I'm like, wait, where do I remember this for? Is it from? Then I got to Google it separately. So all of that I don't have to do with Crash Course, because within one video, at least I've remembered the basics of everything.
Right.
I know it is a shortcut, but that is what a crash course is. But what I really like about Crash Course is that they have a literature playlist, which is so interesting because he explains Shakespeare's iambic pentameter and what J.D. Salinger does with writing and why this voice is used. What does this invent? And in really fun 10-minute animated really fun
That's so
videos,
cool,
which I really enjoy watching. And because of Crash Course, I started watching Vlog Brothers, which is something that the brothers run as a separate channel so they basically have like a big age difference between them. So as kids, they were never friends. And he's a writer, John Green is a writer, Hank Green is a professor of like chemistry and all of that stuff. So he, basically humanities and science.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they never really got along as children because there was like a really big age gap. So now, as adults, they're trying to connect as brothers. And they live in separate parts of the world. They are both married, have children. So every Tuesday and Thursday, they make a 3-minute video for each other, expressing things that they're thinking about or in life. Obviously, it becomes serious stuff. It becomes funny stuff. It's like, this week, I'm obsessed with Pokemon. It becomes, I've been thinking about what is it that I want to teach my children. And just like personal stories for each other's family, but also really like open to talking about, let's talk about this. Let's talk about philosophy. The Crash Course on philosophy, by the way, is amazing.
Okay.
Explaining different kinds, where it comes from, what it means in current situations. Really nice. Super educational, but fun. So Crash Course is the YouTube channel they have for educational and fun learning, and the one that they do personal videos, it's called Vlog Brothers.
Nice. So that kind of rounds up our recommendation. What was the book that you recommended me?
So Ruskin Bond's Friends in Small Places.
Right. And the movie I recommended was Wiener. All right. So, so that was our recommendation round. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with our discussion round where we'll briefly discuss how various professions are portrayed on TV shows. So see you on the other side of this break.
Long, long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says. A show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien, who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday on the IVM podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts on. You get one banana water free with every podcast. Right. I'll just check that.
And welcome back to IVM Likes. This is our discussion round, and today we're discussing how various professions are portrayed in television shows, and do they do justice to those professions, and have there been instances where you've seen a profession being played on a TV show and you were like, yes, I want to do that for the rest of my life. So guys, enlighten me.
I think Abbas has a story about this because he seemed very specific. So tell us your story.
Yes, so I don't think I've ever mentioned on this show before, but I am actually a dental college dropout. I studied 2 years of dentistry and then I dropped out because I wanted to do something in the arts, alright. But in 2011, there was a brief period where I had quit and my new classes were yet to begin. So that left me with a lot of free time. And I started watching 2 shows. I started watching Scrubs and I started watching House, alright. And this was me after dropping out. And I'm like, man, Scrubs is so cool. These guys are like so amazing. They're like friends, but in hospital.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to do that.
How do they do that?
And then right after that, I would watch House. I'm like, I had the chance to be that brilliant, but I think I just gave it up. So there was this brief period where I was like, should I ask Dad to tell me to take my admission again or not, you know? But then I used to just pacify myself. But I'm like, you know what? No, these are fictional shows and someone has written this. So maybe the arts is where I should go.
I can write lines like these for other people.
Exactly. For which I'll have to research medicine again. So that wasn't very pretty.
Doctor shows actually are by far the worst offenders because
They are.
Grey's Anatomy, I mean, come on. How much time do they spend in this hospital just having sex with each other? It makes no sense.
All the time. Everyone's in relationships with everyone else.
Yeah, because they're so emotionally wound up because they spend like 24 hours in the ER. And people are obviously dying all the time. And when do they work out? Their bodies look amazing all the time.
Yeah. They always look awesome.
If you knew you were going to be naked so much in the hospital, would you not make time to work out? How do they do that?
I wish people could actually see. I went to a hospital when I was in Tiruvalla, just like general checkup for my grandma, and it was the medical mission in Tiruvalla. Definitely doesn't look anything like it. Grey's Anatomy.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Mallu nurses, dude. Just you show me the life of Mallu nurses, because that'll that will travel all across the world. That's what I want to see. A TV show about Mallu nurses.
I'd like to go up to a Mallu nurse and I'm like, tell me about your sex life. How much sex do you have in the hospital?
Yeah. Tell me, point out who all you've slept with here.
Get out.
In this hospital itself. Yeah, Grey's Anatomy is really bad. Actually, almost all of Shonda Rhimes shows, if you look at Scandal.
Yeah.
Oh, I really like Scandal.
I mean, come on. The worst portrayal of
it.
Politics ever.
I enjoy it so
Even
much.
How to Get Away with Murder, they are lawyers, you know.
Yeah.
They're just committing murders all the time. I'm like, just get to your job.
But I've seen Scandal and I really enjoy it.
Even lawyers with suits and Boston Legal. I mean, lawyering is pretty much all paperwork, guys. Nobody's wearing those suits and going to court. To High Court in Bandra, come on.
Genuinely know lawyers, and literally all they do is just documents and contracts and like really, really boring stuff.
Yeah.
Genuinely boring stuff. And it's fascinating sometimes when you have an interesting, not just case, but you know, like for example, right now, this whole rights of privacy thing. Like that's really fascinating to understand like your own rights and what your country is portraying as your fundamental rights. Right? That's interesting.
Yeah.
But paperwork. They don't all look like they've just come out of suits. But your boss looks hot, you look hot. No way. No way.
Yeah. My lawyer show reference has always been The Good Wife. Okay, that's the one I've seen a lot.
Oh, I do like
and
The Good Wife.
The Good Wife is a really good show, but then they're like, so she reaches office at like 10, and then as soon as she enters, they're like, there's a meeting at 11 for this particular case. They sit on the meeting, then they go to the courthouse, they argue the court, they come out, it's still daytime. I'm like, how long is your day?
Everybody seems to be getting a lot of hours out of their day. So, because I've been watching 30 Rock, where she's a writer of a comedy show. All comedy writers, I mean, that was like a big show for everybody because we're like, oh, they get us, creative people. They obviously spend so much time in the office. I get it, life sucks for them and that's the idea they're showing. But they still have too many hours in the day.
Yeah.
They're just not sitting around in office and hating things. Things are happening all the time. It's like if I just took a phone and made a wine show in my job, will that be fun? No.
A wine show?
A wine, constantly Snapchatting office.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that many things happen? No, it does not.
So you know what? I got to talk about the fact that, like, for me, you're talking about your ambitions I really, you know, this whole actually being an RJ wasn't like an ambition of mine. The where it all sparked from this whole thing of like being able to host and present. MTV, I was an MTV generation, right? And I loved what the VJs did. Like, one of my favorites was not Maria Goretti. Who was the girl who used to take all people's letters?
Shahnaz Fajriwala.
Yes. I used to.
Most Wanted.
Yes.
That's like Sharanya's like an encyclopedia.
She is.
Just give me
Crash course, baby. Crash course. Exactly. Spat all over a mic. Sorry. But so basically for me, I really loved her show. And she actually read out one of my letters. And I wanted to do that. I actually wanted her, like, I wanted to be that person that like read out people's letters and they wrote letters to me and I talk about music and stuff. Like that
Did
was.
you feel like Vidya Balan in Munna Bhai? You know where she's the RJ.
Have you seen that movie?
What? I've not seen that movie.
Of course you haven't.
So then, so after being that MTV generation, right, of like, you know, of having someone who read out your letters and you played their songs, like that's what I wanted to do. And then radio sort of happened mixed. It was Frasier. Frasier, I was like, I wanted to solve people's problems.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to solve their problems. I wasn't a psychiatrist, but I wanted to be like something like a counsel for people. So besides playing your songs, I can help you with your problems
Can
too.
I recommend a show within this to you that you should watch?
Sure, yes.
Amazon Prime has a show with Tig Notaro called One Mississippi, where she plays an RJ, where she talks about her personal life stories mixed with a playlist that suits that story
Oh, nice.
from her childhood. It's really nice. You should watch it.
Oh, I've already got a recommendation within the recommendation show. Guys, this is just crazy.
But then in your case, you
RJs,
got to do that. You got to
I
kind of,
did.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, technically, we're talking about her when it's never true.
Yeah.
Hey, but Frasier
In some
is not,
cases it is, I guess.
But Frasier is not actually that untrue as a job.
Sure.
It's pretty much what like a radio station looks like. Though I gotta say, the whole like the presenting and the producing. You know, he has a producer, right? Who basically takes the phone calls and sends it. That is very American radio. That does not happen in India. You basically handle everything yourself because you have no help.
Well, why do we pay two people?
In America,
That's exactly You're kidding, but it's true.
In American shows, all a producer does is give the sign to wrap up. It's like, wrap up. And in reality, because this is producer sitting on this table, you all know that when we give the sign to wrap up, nobody wraps up. They just keep going on and on and on.
Did anybody watch Californication and think that's a writer? Do you ever think that way?
No, I think novelists, again, that's one of the other professions where novelists are always handsome and hot, and they have a great social life, and they are sexy.
And their books are always like bestsellers.
Yeah.
Our book bestseller list. They're like social elite. I'm like, which author do you know is social elite right now?
Exactly. It's one of those professions again. And also chefs, I think. Chefs are always portrayed again sexy and really cool.
Yeah, you cannot be that sexy if you spend that much time on your feet next to fire. Like, no, they're bruised all the time. I know chefs and they're literally bruised all the time.
So when I brought banana chips from Kerala, right? I show you, like, this is not even a chef. This is a dude that makes banana chips. It's just like he's surrounded by like a flame, hot coconut oil, and all he's doing is slicing bananas all day in a lungi and a bandi.
Yeah.
Like it's literally that. That is not a glamorous life.
Even like bakers in TV shows are always like these manic pixie girls with like fringe and like, here I make cupcakes. No, they don't look like that. Have you seen them? They're dealing with tons of flour and shit. It's not sexy.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that people try to sexify all jobs.
They do.
Yeah.
And
it makes them more attractive. It's just like, you look hot as a lawyer. You look hot as a nurse. You look hot as a chef.
Also righteousness. Like cops are always very righteous in cop shows. Like, Or corrupt. Yeah. There's no grey area.
There's no like, this is so much paperwork, guys. I can't run anymore. I'm not getting paid on time. That's why.
Yeah.
No like, अरे विसर्जन है. आज पूरा दिन खड़े रहना पड़ेगा रोड पे. No reality at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think cops actually have it the worst.
They do.
Like in portrayal wise. Because they all look mostly good. Or they're either shown as super corrupt people or super like
And
righteous.
also, they solve all crimes. All crimes get solved. Everything gets solved. Everything, like it's not...
Yeah.
And if they don't, it comes back to them and they're like, this is the one that got away. I'm going to solve it this time.
Yeah. They always have that one that comes back after years.
Yeah.
They still, on the side and at home, they have a pinboard.
Oh yeah, the pinboard. Every profession has that. Like,
they all have
this happened to this.
Like a connection pinboard all the time. Yeah. Even, actually, I think politicians probably have it worse.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not that Indian politicians care about the portrayal that they are having in...
I love it that Sharanya is like, lawyers worst, police worst, politicians
all
worst.
Bad. Basically all
bad. But politicians as well.
Politicians are just the worst people. Like murder. I mean, I guess it's not that far from the truth.
It's not actually that untrue.
I know.
Yeah, that's what. Either they are really bad people or they are clueless. Like it's one of the two.
It's like
Pretty
Veep.
much sounds
Yeah.
exactly...
It's like Veep, yeah.
Sounds
Or
like-
Wiener. Get it, guys. Call
Boom.
back.
Call back.
So I have a question to ask of you, May. Is it because you have spoken to so many musicians? Do you think the portrayal of musicians in TV shows is accurate?
I think being broke and struggling, maybe.
Yeah, most musicians in television are shown to be creative tantrum throwing but broke.
And
Which
drug
I guess
addicts.
is kind of true.
It's
And
kind of true.
drugs.
Yeah.
The drug life.
Can I tell you that the drug life, varying levels of it, because I know very
Can't afford drugs enough.
yeah. So I'm not saying that it's impossible that it's there, because it's different. Like if you look at the likes of, artists that are, in the international like Billboard charts, it's very different.
Yeah.
I actually, this is so weird. I saw a really fascinating interview with Nick Carter, and he went through, and Nick Carter is a child star, went through everything, went through drugs, went through all of that, and came out of it and went out and, having to put yourself back out in the open. It was a beautiful interview, and he was extremely candid and very honest.
Yeah.
And I can give you one example of that in India, where on my show, Made in India, subtle plug, Siddharth Basrur, who also got into drugs and went into rehab, and now is doing really well for himself. He's on his honeymoon in Europe right now. And so, not saying it doesn't happen, it does happen. But the struggle, all true.
Yeah,
it is
definitely.
a struggle.
I think there's a show that Cameron Crowe made last year, I think, called Roadies, which is basically a roadies crew that is organizing this big tour, like a world tour with this big musician, not like a broke kind of musician, they sell out stadiums. While the show wasn't very good, I did feel like the production elements felt very real. Like
Right.
they spend all the time there. They are fixing mics from morning, and then they at the end of the day they're just tired and they want to drink. I know you have to hang out with each other only,
Yeah.
whether you like each other or not. They're on the tour bus all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
That felt kind of realistic. So I was like, okay. I think the menial jobs usually are pretty realistic.
Maybe, yeah, that's
You know,
true.
it's the protagonist jobs are always the worst.
You know what? There is a recommendation that you have, like harping back to one of your recommendations, Shar. There's one about that department store,
Superstore.
Superstore,
Yeah.
and I think that
Superstore is pretty
That I
realistic.
can
If they're
totally-
boring menial
Yeah.
jobs, they're mostly realistic
That's
because they're like
yeah.
everybody gets this.
Even The Office, for that matter, then
Correct.
is like the boring, mundane lives.
Extremely boring.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a weird thing, no? Like they're
Yeah.
like these are jobs that regular people who watch this show do, so we'll be realist about this.
Yeah.
Lawyers are not watching Suits. It's fine.
Yeah,
Because they don't have the time to watch it.
Yeah. They have been caught winning things. I wonder if anybody has ever looked at a show and said, I want to do this and actually done it. Like I want to be this person.
I just said.
Yeah, but that's not a
Wow.
deep
Oh,
fictional
wasn't
show,
it?
na.
It's
She
not
actually
fictional.
has that job.
That's true.
Shahnaaz
it
actually has that job.
Yeah, exactly. It was very much. I mean, I was only looking at because I was inspired by what you said about being being a dentist and doctor, and I was wondering like where did that actually that drive come from? And it literally was.
Yeah.
But I'm sure even if someone did, there must be some level of compromise they would have made with it. It's never going to be as cool as it is.
Yeah.
on
It is,
TV.
but that's why, like, when I mentioned Frasier, that's literally how it is. You
Right.
come in, you host your show, and you go out, and that's it. And yeah, and everything was literally like you. That is not untrue. Like
Yeah.
how he does his show. He's in a studio all the time, and you're just being. And that's where I had this whole thing of like, I want to help people, but not be a psychiatrist. So just
Alright.
an RJ's enough.
All right. So basically, the moral of the story is the jobs are hard, and we watch
mundane.
TV mundane, and we hope someday someone makes a movie about or TV show about podcast producers and presenters.
There is one
So
coming up.
There is.
Yeah, it's called Startup. With
Yep.
Zach Braff. Scrubs,
All right.
reference.
Scrubs.
Maybe
reference.
we should watch that and review it on our
And
show.
feel how
And-
like this
and-
is nothing like the job I do at all.
No, but it's based on the Gimlet show Startup.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm pretty sure it'll be realistic enough.
Are the producers
Let's see.
sexy and hot? Well, Zach Braff
So
is.
far I've only heard it on the radio, so I don't know.
No,
Abbas, like, do they look like me?
Yeah.
Do they look like Mallu nurses?
What?
Enough about my fantasies, mate. So that was our episode of IVM Likes. I hope you had fun. If you want to tell us what you feel about our show, or if you have certain professions that you have seen on TV shows and wanted to pursue it and did pursue it, tell us. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as IVM Podcasts. Individually, we are on Twitter as well. I am at Abbas Momin, and Sharanya is...
At Sharanya_S.
I'm on Twitter at maybe. That's MAEBE.
All right, so that was our show. We'll see you all next week.
Bye, May.
Bye.
Excuse me, भैया. Excuse me.
बोलिए मैडम।
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, थिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर जकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है। आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम। आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप, सब आपकी उंगलियों पे।